Reddit Martian back with another tip-top video for you. r/AskReddit. Serious, what are some creepy urban legends? There is a local lake that when I was growing up, I heard this story that a woman was drowned there by her fiancé. On certain nights she would come up out of the water, and if you happened to be parked near the lake, she would put her hand on your windshield. If she pulled her hand away and it left a handprint, it meant you were going to die too. The one in my country that states there was once a foreigner that sang in a karaoke My Way by Frank Sinatra in the middle of the night but was shot in the head before he could finish it since he stole the mic from a killer that reserved the song. And some claim that it happened multiple times in a span of a decade in multiple locations. From that day on, patrons of any bar will refrain from choosing My Way in a karaoke in the middle of the night and fear that their lives will end before they could finish the song by a mysterious figure brandishing a pistol patrolling every bar. That will end anyone that even dares to sing that song. Versions of this tale may change, but the idea is the same. The Whistler. Basically, a son killed his father and the grandfather found out, whipped the boys back to a raw state and made him carry his dad's bones in a sack for all eternity. Scary thing is that when he is around you will hear a whistle. Thing is, the louder the whistle the farther away he is. The closer he is the whistle will sound more faint. It's said he does this to play with you and confuse you before mutilating you and adding your bones to his sack. Said to have killed hundreds of people. I live in Florida and there's an old sugar mill from the 1600s near me. At some point the slaves on the plantation started a revolt with the help of the Seminole Indians and secured their freedom by killing many of the landowners. According to several people who were interviewed independently of each other, there is a ghostly Native American on horseback that still chases people off the property at the same time they attacked the colonists 400 years ago. Couple local legends in my hometown. We had witch trials a few years before Salem. 2 women were accused. One was hanged. Apparently her grave was very close to my friend's house, and when she would look out the back door some nights she'd see a woman with long black hair covering her face looking up at her bedroom. We also have an abandoned Revolutionary War fort where a young man got choked out by an unseen force. All his friends saw it happen. No one really goes up there at night anymore. That one about the guy who got lost hiking in the woods. So he wandered until he found a log cabin. He knocked the door but nobody answered. The door wasn't locked, so he went in. There was nothing in the cabin but a room with a bed and lots of paintings of monsters and beasts' faces in the walls. It was very late in the night already, so he fell asleep. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. Then when it was morning he was getting his things ready to go out, and that's when he noticed the scary paintings disappeared, and in its place there were windows. In Pennsylvania there's the 7 Gates of Hell near Hallam Township. There was an insane asylum built in the forest away from the general population to keep all the patients away from people. It's believed that the asylum burned down and many patients died during the fire or escaped into the surrounding forest. The name comes from the fact that a gate was built to keep the escaped patients from leaving the area. But when night falls you can follow the path past the first gate and will eventually pass through an additional 6 gates, and after passing through the 7th gate will end up in hell. The Aboriginal people of Australia talk about the hairy men, which is some kind of ape-like beast. Another name is the yowie. Basically these things were blood-sucking creatures that would eat you, and the Aboriginal people were pretty afraid of them. Apparently they would stalk you and follow you through the bush, and they move fast. The weird thing is though there are lots of different tribes in Australia with different languages, but all of the tribes' name for these creatures translates to hairy men. Also drop bears. Gotta watch out for drop bears when you're in the bush. They fall on you from the trees and rip your throat out with their sharp little teeth. Heard a story once about a young girl whose boyfriend had asked her if she would like to go for a drink after her late shift. She agreed, but she had to go back to her house first to get changed. Arriving at her home she noticed her roommate was asleep. She crept into her room to borrow an item of clothing and without waking her managed to creep back out. The following morning she returned home to find her roommate had been violently murdered. On the mirror however in lipstick it read, "Bet you're glad you didn't turn the light on last night," and below it, in another, darker shade of lipstick it said, "You're that one about the babysitter that brings the kids to bed." In the hallway is a statue of a clown that bugs her. When she goes to check on the kids a few hours later she notices that the statue has a different stance. The babysitter starts to second guess herself, goes downstairs and the phone rings. It's the parents asking if everything is okay with the kids. Yep, everything is fine. Except for that clown statue, it's creeping me out. The other side of the line goes, "We don't have a clown statue." Cue unnerving music. On the island of Okinawa, Japan, there was a house in which a man killed himself and his family. It was said that he was persecuting the rest of the inhabitants. It is reported that after this event, various terrible things were going on in the house. A sudden turn on of light, or, for example, in the window you could see a woman who washes her hair in the sink. The scariest thing today is that this house was separated by a fence, and children 4-5 years old, who study not far in kindergarten, constantly throw toys into the fence. When asked why they do this, the guys said they want to play with the children on the other side. It is frightening to realize that almost all living children have seen the dead. This greatly frightened those who worked in the kindergarten. In my opinion, it's creepy. A woman met a nice man at a party and she went to his place afterwards to hook up. They really clicked, so they set up a date for another time. A day later she had a really bad rash around her mouth, so she went to the doctor. When the doctor saw it he was shocked. Apparently that type of rash only come from being in contact with dead, decaying bodies. Turns out the man she met is a serial killer and likes to do it with dead women after he kills them, and she was his next victim. That legend where a couple is making out in a well-known spot in the woods. The girl is complaining about being afraid, while the guy is teasing her. Apparently, a man with a hook for a hand escaped from a local prison, and he was known for murdering young couples. Eventually, the girl convinced the guy to leave and take her home. When she gets out of the car, she starts to scream. A hook was stuck on the door handle. Gives me the shivers every time. Stranger Things is based on legends from my hometown. It's actually on the east end of Long Island, the Demogorgon. We called that the Montauk Beast, the Montauk Monster, or just the Beast. We used to break into the old Air Force base and there were always rumors that it was never actually shut down and everything was just moved underground. It was called the Montauk Project and it's a pretty well-known one. But most people don't know about the more local parts like the Beast taking kids, or why there's higher rates of twins and triplets out there and stuff like that. The one about a man who was hiking and crosses a cabin where he decides to spend the night. Inside, he sees that the cabin is lined with portraits. However, there's no lights in the cabin so he can't see them clearly. The eyes seem to be following him. He's too tired and sleeps there anywhere. When he wakes up, he doesn't see any paintings, only windows. In my city, Jakarta, there is a popular urban legend of ride-hailing driver booked by a female ghost. There are several stories, but I remember this one clearly, as this one was told by the driver himself to me. He got an order from a female at 11 PM. Usually most motorbike rider wouldn't accept order this late due to safety reasons. But this man was chasing his last point so he could get the bonus, and he took the order. At first he was rather suspicious, because the destination point was located at the front of Jeripur Cemetery Gate, a well-known cemetery complex. So he sent her a message, "Is the destination correct, miss?" And he got a short reply, "Yes." So he just drove and picked the girl up. There was nothing suspicious about the girl. Long black hair, red lipstick, wearing blue jeans and white shirt, just like any normal girls. So up they went to the girl's residence. The driver then said that she didn't talk at all during the trip, but he really didn't mind. He just drove through the usual route. The distance between the pickup points and the destination point was not far, only 5 kilometers away, about 2.5 miles, and he knew the road very well. He estimated they'll arrive in 5 minutes or less. When they were about to reach the destination, he asked the girl, "Where should I drop you off, miss?" But there was no response or answer from the girl. He looked at the mirror, and he almost fell off of his motorbike. The girl wasn't there anymore. But that was not the worst part. When he looked around, he suddenly realized that he was already inside of the cemetery complex. He drove frantically to the gate and went to a 24-hour coffee shop nearby. There were few customers there. The shop owner looked at him and asked, "What did you do in cemetery at 1 AM? He quickly checked his phone, and damn right, it was 1 AM. He then opened the ride-hailing app to check the order from that girl, and as you've guessed it by now, there was no order from her at all, and he was still one order less from his bonus that day. This is a common story, but everyone adapts it to suit their local area. There's a road that gets foggy all the time going out my town, so that's where everyone says it happened. A girl was driving along the road late at night in the 80s. It was dark and foggy. Her car suddenly shut off, so she had to pull over and check out the engine. After she'd fixed it, she got back into the car and started to drive again. As she pulled out into the road, a large truck started flashing its lights at her. The girl kept looking in her rear view mirror, scared that the driver wanted her to stop so he could attack her. She didn't stop. She drove all the way home, with the truck following her the whole way, flashing the whole time. She didn't get out the car and honk the horn to get her father to wake up and come outside. The truck pulled into the driveway behind her as the dad came outside. "What's going on?" he said. The daughter got out her car, pointing at the truck. "This man's followed me all the way home from the marsh and he won't stop flashing his lights at me." The driver got out the car, yelling, "Get out of the way. I saw somebody get into the back of your car when you broke down. He's hiding there. I flashed you every time I saw him raise his axe." He ripped open the girl's car door and jumped on the man hiding there. Do you know what you are? That's right, you're a champ. Thanks for watching. Like and share if you enjoyed. Don't forget the bell. Subscribe for more videos. See you soon, Martians.